Welcome back, and joining me with more insight on the day's trade is Graeme Franck from Psg Wealth Sandton Grayston. Thank you so much for your time, Graeme. The amazing rally we had in yesterday's session did not last. Was it too good to be sustained?
Yeah, it's been an interesting few days, Zanati. I mean, it's just so volatile at the moment. I think, as I mentioned to you earlier, the volatility index, which does measure volatility daily moves, is at its third all-time high. The highest was in the global financial crisis. Second was COVID. And now the third is this tariff war. So, and by the way, the market would have been even worse today if it wasn't for this huge rally in gold, which ironically is an uncertainty sort of bounce that we've seen. So it's been just another point as well, just on the banks. I heard in your introduction both Standard Bank and Nedbank went ex-dividend today. So that alone would have taken about 3.5–4% off their share prices. So although they were bad, they weren't quite as bad as they appeared at first glance.
Oh, okay. I do hear you on that. I forget it is a Wednesday, and of course it is that day. And just going back to this kind of the tariff situation and the tit-for-tat battle between China and the US is quite interesting. Seeing, China, Lesotho and Cambodia feeling the most heat from the US on the reciprocal tariffs. But of course, other countries are still trying to negotiate. But is China the only country that has the power to fight to the death here?
Simple answer, yes. I think that in a sort of war of attrition between America and China, China wins it every time, even though America is a bigger economy. I mean, China is obviously a communist economy. If they have to tell their people that they're going to live on a piece of bread and some water for the next year or two, I don't think the Americans can match that. And the very, very important thing, Zanati, is that, remember, America goes into midterm elections next year, 2026. And whilst Trump will still be president for 4 years, there is a very, very real chance, if they are in recession, that the Republicans lose that, and then they can't enact legislation. So I see Ted Cruz, a hardline Republican, has come out and said, we risk a bloodbath in the midterm elections. And China doesn't have any of that. They're not a democratically run country. So the things are heating up big time at the moment. And my personal view is that the Americans aren't that stupid that they'll forfeit a midterm election.
Yeah, it really is quite interesting that now things have moved to the political arena, where there is a political uncertainty and risk there in America. And just talking about that risk, we've had a number of companies coming out with their own concerns. We did have JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon earlier this week talking about the risk of higher prices and a likely recession. And we've had various industries also pulling back on their forecast. We did have Delta Airlines pulling back on its 2025 earnings guidance, talking about already seeing lower bookings, and also Walmart in the retail sector saying that they have dumped their operating income forecast for the current quarter. Are we seeing early signs of an upcoming earnings rut?
Yeah, potentially, and I think it's actually a little bit worse than that, in the sense that both Delta and Walmart, not only did they sort of cut their forecast, they actually took away their forecasts altogether. They said it's so uncertain we will no longer provide any guidance. So, again, I stick to it that geopolitical events tend to be short, sharp corrections generally, and then we see a rebound. Whether that's the case now with Trump, who knows? But in previous sort of bear markets, i.e. the global financial crisis in 2008 and the NASDAQ bubble in the sort of 2001, those were really driven by fundamentally bad valuations, market way, way overpriced. People could say the US market was a little overpriced coming into this, but this is a geopolitical event. It's not necessarily a market fundamental event. And those are different types of events to shock markets.
And this is also, is this also risking business confidence in the US?
Yeah, I mean, it's no one knows what's going on. Take Nike, for example. They bring in a pair of sneakers at $50. sell them for 100. Now all of a sudden they're going to pay another $20 on that. Do they pass that on to the consumer? Do they absorb the margins themselves? Do they cut guidance? No one knows. So it's again, it's creating massive uncertainty, which, as I said earlier on, is causing the volatility index just to jump to all-time highs. And our gut feel is stay the course for the longer term. I think these. A good portion of these are going to be negotiated quite quickly. This is just one huge, big, giant Trump negotiation from where we're sitting, or from where I'm sitting.
Yeah. All right. Well, not a lot of company news, quite thin company news there on the JSE today. But I noticed that African Rainbow Minerals had a leadership reshuffle there that they announced today, and this is due to the reintroduction of the Armed Technical Services division. And I was wondering if this is maybe just because, of course, we know how battered the PGM sector has been, that this is just a way for them to kind of cut the fat so that they can be more efficient in this kind of uncertain macroeconomic environment.
Yeah. As you say, the management reshuffle was in the platinum division, which is not sort of massive in their lives. Okay. I think obviously more important is that their share price. I was looking earlier; it peaked during the last year at 240 rand. It's closed at about 138. So I think both weak performance from the commodity market and possibly some management shakeup. But I wouldn't read too much into the platinum division at this stage. And then, by the way, it's not one that we really like too much.
Well, is that the PGM sector in general, or African Rainbow Minerals in particular?
Well, actually, the pure play PGM miners like Implats and Amplats have been even worse than ARM. So ARM at least does have the diversification of Harmony and some gold exposure. But yeah, the PGM, the pure play commodities like the PGMs and some of the coal miners have been a lot worse.
Yeah, and actually just your take on the PGM counters, because over the last few days we have actually seen those share prices surging. Could this maybe be the market already signaling a bottoming of that PGM market?
I think so, and I would hope so, because I bought some myself a few days ago. But yeah, I just think the share price has got down too low. Again, they are very, very risky. Any single commodity company tends to be risky, and obviously we'll talk about that when we get to my stock pick. But I think we're starting to see a lot more interest in the high quality, low cost platinum producers like Amplats and Implats.
Well, let us get to your stock pick for today. What are you choosing, Graeme?
So despite what I've said about commodities, I think, just looking at Anglo American, it's down, 13, 14% in 1 week. It's down 21% in a month. So I'm going to pick that. But that said, Zanati, offshore, Berkshire Hathaway, Microsoft, you can get so many good quality counters now, so much cheaper than you could a week or two ago. And, short Armageddon and Trump continuing with the 100% tariffs, I think now is probably quite a good buying opportunity, both locally and internationally. And then just finally on the currency, we're currently holding the wooden spoon for the worst performing currency since Donald Trump introduced the tariffs. So potentially some bounce back on the currency as well.
Ooh, and quite scary levels that we are seeing right now, Graeme. Over 19 Rand 80, really crawling to that, and not even crawling, actually running really, really fast, sprinting to that. Yeah, sprinting to that 20 Rand level against the US dollar. I'm really crossing fingers that we won't get there. But of course, we will see what happens in the next few days and weeks. Thank you so much for your time and for your insights on what has moved investors' money today. That was Graeme Franck from Psg Wealth Sandton Grayston.